Hey friends and everybody else, welcome back to Horror Trans. My name is Stephanie Bree. I'm a transgender woman. I talk about all things horror, and today I have the task of telling you what you need to know about Return to Horror High before you venture forth into this pseudo Scream-esque slasher commentary on slashers. So, first off, this movie is, I will use the word bonkers. You have your stereotypical B-movie, cheesy, schlocky, over-the-top acting, which is to be expected, but you also have some out-of-place, vaudevillian type comedy that doesn't fit in this type of movie, that is more akin to a Killer Tomatoes type of comedy than what this movie I think was going for. You have three rather jarring movies playing simultaneously. You have the X/Texas Chainsaw Massacre type of cops show up, there's bodies everywhere, and they're trying to piece together what happened. That movie is running alongside the movie within the movie where the filmmakers, producer, director, actors, cast, crew, etc., are, quote, making a movie. And while they're making a movie about a killer, there's a killer on the loose murdering the cast and crew. There's a third movie within the movie, which is the movie itself that they're making. Makes this movie very jarring because you'll be watching a scene where you think it's the police investigating the crime, and then all of a sudden you realize, nope, it's just a behind-the-scenes part of the movie. Or you'll be watching a scene where you're like, what's going on? Where did this come from? You don't know what's happening, and then all of a sudden you'll cut, and then the camera will shift, and you'll be like, oh shit, this is a scene within the movie that they're filming. They do that too much. The fake out. I'm not going to spoil the ending, because this movie, I guess, has a twist. I guess. And you kind of probably can see it coming a mile away, but if you can't see it coming, well, maybe you want to be surprised when it happens. I wasn't surprised when it happened. When they got to the third act, I had figured out what was going on. I was like, oh shit, it's all something, and I was like, god damn it, they actually went there. There are a couple of triggers I have to point out in this movie. It was made in the 80s. Trigger number one, there is some sexual objectification of the women. In one scene, while the woman, one of the actresses, is baring her full chest, the director grabs her tit and says, "Are these real?" And then he says something, this is not a direct quote, but something to the effect of, "You're gonna have a good career, you got nice tits, that's talent," or something like that. After he literally grabbed her tits. So that's triggering, because that's kind of like, wait for her to say it's okay. Second trigger warning, there is a sexual assault scene in this movie. They set it up so you know it's coming, but it's still going to be triggering or jarring when it happens because, it's sexual assault. And it is a plot point of the movie and the movie within the movie. So I know that's going to sound confusing because it is. Also, I don't know if the actual filmmaker was trying to do this or the in-film filmmaker was trying to do. I don't know. It's convoluted as fuck, and it's really frustrating because you're watching it, and all of a sudden you're watching a different movie, and then 5 minutes later you're watching an entirely different movie again, and you're like, what the goddamn hell is going on? But I do think they were kind of trying to do a Scream-esque commentary on slasher movies, because they do talk about the tropes and they call them out. And you have the director who's like, no, I'm trying to make a psychological thriller. And the producer's like, no, people just want to see blood and tits. And the writer's like, I didn't write that scene that way. Can we do it the way I wrote it? And they're like, shut up, you're an idiot. So there's a lot of that going on. Also, there's a lot of girls that get, well, we'll say sexually exploited, but not in your usual slasher movie way where they're like at a camp and they're in the woods with their lover and they're getting ready to fuck and they take their shirt off. No, there's like a douche who walks into a girl's locker room and doesn't even cover his eyes and actually grabs a girl and literally threatens to sexually assault a girl in front of a girl if the first girl doesn't give him what he wants. It's disgusting. Very manipulative. There's blackface in this movie, which is very bad, triggering. Because it's like, oh no, that's not okay. No. So this movie is kind of a complicated mess. Now, pros and cons. Pros. Well, it is kind of a slasher, even though it's trying to do what Scream would do better 10 years later, commentating on the slasher craze, only it's doing it at the height of the slasher craze, so we don't have hindsight to give us perspective yet. We're just making fun of something that's like really popular right now at the time, which to me feels heavy-handed and kind of bullying the audience rather than just making a commentary. And I don't like it when movies do that. Also, it's a cheesy B-movie horror slasher in the early 80s. And George Clooney, spoilers, too late, makes an appearance in this movie, just like he does in Return of the Killer Tomatoes. So that could be a pro for some people and a con for other people. There's a fourth jarring component to this movie I didn't mention, and that's the goddamn dream sequences. So, the whole movie, you don't know what the fuck is real and what's going on, and I hate that. I really hate that. It's fine when, like, in A Nightmare on Elm Street does it, where you're like, are they awake? Is it a dream? What's happening? What's real? I don't like it when it's like, wait a minute, what movie am I watching? This is a totally different movie. Now I've got football players and cheerleaders and a pervy teacher that's molesting the students. And yes, he is. And by the way, trigger warning, not only is the pervy teacher molesting the students, he's also bullying one of the kids. And I know this movie came out first, so shame on you, Wes Craven. There is a sequence where the killer basically looks like Ghostface. So, obviously, Wes Craven had to have seen this movie because he very, very much modeled his Ghostface killer after the mock killer in this movie, because it's Ghostface. It's a different mask, but it's the same robe, and it's the same mannerisms and trippy and everything else. It's Ghostface. We're not going to call it Ghostface, but it's Ghostface. Now, I would say the kills are a pro, except we don't see any of the kills. Like, at all. None of them. They're all off camera, except for the fake kills that are taking place in the movie. So it's in the movie within the movie. I know, god damn it. This movie's frustrating. So the real kills, which I don't want to spoil the ending, aren't, well, we don't see any of them. And then the fake kills that special effects people are doing on camera for the movie within the movie, we do see, they don't look that good. And I don't know if that's on purpose, because it's, you know, commentary on low-budget, bad special effects, or if it's because this is itself a low-budget movie with bad special effects, or if it's because it was an incompetent special effects team that didn't know what the fuck they were doing. I don't know. But this is a movie I'm going to use as evidence that practical effects aren't always the way to go. Obviously, they couldn't have used CGI in this movie, but this is one of those movies where it's like, the effects are so bad, so bad, it takes me out of the movie, and the movie within the movie, and the other movie, and the other movie, and the Dream movie. It's just the whole time I'm just like, my God, the effects of this movie are so terrible, I can't even get into it. It takes me out of all of it. The plot is too goddamn convoluted while also being too basic and simple, which sounds like an oxymoron or a contradiction or a paradox. Take your pick, because it kind of sort of is all three in a way. This movie makes no fucking sense. And I don't want to spoil the ending, but it has the ending. It essentially has the Scream ending. Essentially. Not like exactly verbatim, but this is Ghostface, and it has the Ghostface ending. So, this is basically Scream 0, I guess, if you want to call it that. And then out of nowhere, everybody's playing a caricature of themselves, but out of nowhere, you have this goddamn idiot cop. Like, and I mean idiot. Clumsy, flirty, bad at her job, just not good. And she's an awful character that just, every time she showed up, I was like, oh my God, I have to fast forward through this scene. And then I'm like, no, because I want to give this movie a fair review. She took me out of the movie every time. Every scene she was in, I was like, God damn it. Is this movie a rent or a buy? God, no. Don't waste your time on this movie. Watch Scream. If you need this kind of meta social commentary on slashers, Scream does it right. This movie pisses all over the genre and the fans and everybody else. If you need a movie that's like making fun of or mocking horror movies and features George Clooney, watch Return of the Killer Tomatoes. You'll get more out of that than you will out of this. If you're looking for good, cheesy, low-budget, practical, bloody effects, this movie is not your... It's not going to do it either, because, like, again, every single time there's a really good or almost good or kind of good special effect, it turns out it's not actually happening. It's a dream, or it's a scene, or it's a prop, or whatever. So that irritated me. My friend who recommended it to me, please keep recommending me movies, because you have had some hits and misses. This was a miss. I apologize for being, putting it off so long, but it didn't do it for me. And honestly, it's one of those like third-party independent films for low budget. It's New World Pictures, the same ones that did the first Hellraiser, and then they went bankrupt. So I just don't see enough happening in this movie for me to justify giving it a buy rating. If you have to watch it, get it out of your system, and then move on. Otherwise, there's better movies to watch. that do what this movie is trying to do. And it's way too soon in the slasher craze to be doing this kind of movie. They needed to wait 5 years before they made this movie. And they didn't. Also, yeah, it goes without saying. I shouldn't have to say it, but the acting is atrocious. 100% across the board. Nobody's trying to act. Not even the director or the supposedly real cops or the supposedly, producer, the people that are in the, quote, real world. Even their acting is bad. So I don't know, and especially when you get to the very end, I don't know if it was all a dream or a setup or I don't know what the fuck it was. I didn't like it. There's one final pro I have to mention. There's a kick-ass song, a banger of a song, as the kids say, dope as fuck, that drops right when the credits roll. If they had used that song in the movie to set the mood and the tone and make me get in the mindset like, oh, okay, this is Return of the Living Dead, or this is Night of the Creeps, I get it, alright, I'm on board. No, instead we get them playing Friday the 13th knockoff music that makes you think you're supposed to be taking it seriously. And then you get this really jarring, like, pop punk song in the middle of the movie that doesn't fit in anything at all. That's like, what is happening? It's almost like a... It's almost like a B-52 song in the middle of a horror movie. You're like, no, this doesn't fit. This clashes. This doesn't mesh. This is wrong. Don't do it. The B-52s, their music belongs in, like, Dumb and Dumber or the Flintstones or, Wayne's World or shit like that. It doesn't belong in a horror movie. No, this song is not a B-52 song. I'm saying it's that kind of punk pop vibe where it's like, no, this song doesn't fit in with the movie. Now, the song at the end, during the end credits, had that song played throughout the movie, that would have changed the entire fucking movie. The entire movie. So, hey, producer, editor, asshole, whoever made this movie, you almost did it, you fucked up. You fucked up at the end.